He can't talk about his record as governor. He can't talk about all the various things he's done to hurt Floridians by foreclosing on their homes. He can't talk about his organization, which is made up of Washington insiders, Washington lobbyists, and Washington apparatchiks.
That was Newt Gingrich last week when the former speaker was fresh off the momentum of a big win in South Carolina and blasting Governor Mitt Romney on his record. But the temperature in the Sunshine State has cooled a bit for Gingrich recently. Romney is leading the GOP pack by 15 in some polls, and average has it more in the 7-point range. On the right side of the aisle, to break it down now, we have Sherry Jacobus. And from the left, David Mercer. We thank you both for joining us today. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure to be with you.
All right, let's talk about these negative ads. They've gone back and forth. You know, Florida is a place where you have to spend a lot of money, a lot of big media markets. Sherry, how do you think this ultimately plays out for the candidates?
You know, the bad news is, for all of us, is that negative ads work. We wish they didn't, but if they didn't work, we wouldn't do them. They do work, so we spend lots of money on them, and that's just the reality of politics. My fear is that it can start damaging the overall brand of the party, and they're not paying enough attention to Obama, because we see his numbers going up. Now, if we're going to have a brokered convention, I doubt we will. We've not had one in my lifetime, and gosh, I'm old.
Oh, right.
So
she's beautiful.
I don't think it'll happen. But here's what I really think is going to happen. At one point, one of these guys is going to start edging ahead enough of the other one so that it's not going to matter if we do technically have a brokered convention. They're going to have the luxury of going after Obama. We see this a little bit with Mitt Romney in Florida. He's up, 7 points or so. So he's starting to focus on Obama. Ultimately, that's what we need to do. So I'm not too concerned about damaging the party as a whole, but it makes me a little bit nervous right now.
Yeah, David, I would have to imagine the Democrats like to see this infighting because Republicans have internally expressed, and they're publicly expressing, some of them, that they're very worried about how much ammunition it's giving Democrats for the general.
Look, we're leaving it up to them to do what they have to do to find their nominee. In the meantime, I do think there is some hurt, and that is to the American people because they don't get to the heart of the issues. If we just look at the Fannie and Freddie debate, we are learning how much in ads each one of them invested or made, but we're not hearing a solution to the foreclosure problem. In addition, we don't hear from Romney whether or not he still believes that the bottom should fall out on housing and more people falling out of their homes. So it's that hurts the American people in not finding out what is at the heart and substance of the issues that are facing Americans going forward. And there was actually in 1976 a brokered convention or close to it with Ford and Reagan. With Mississippi, and namely Haley Barbour, casting his vote for Ford, for that institutional incumbent. I'm not sure that we will see a brokered convention going this year, given the nature of the geography coming out of Florida with Nevada, Arizona, and states, Michigan, that favor more Romney than they do any other candidate in the race.
And on that note, Ron Paul, looks to finish third or fourth here in Florida. I mean, he's never been at the front of the pack of the three primary wins so far. He hasn't been one of them, but he has signaled that he intends to stay in this thing for the long term, Sherry. And he's talked about the fact that he wants to keep collecting delegates along the way so he can have a say if there's a brokered convention. He wants to have an impact on the GOP platform, and he wants to have a voice in what happens. Do you think him staying in, and possibly Rick Santorum staying in as well, I mean, if you're splitting these delegates 4 ways, it could happen?
It could happen, and it'll be interesting to watch. The problem, I think Ron Paul brings something to the table in terms of some of the libertarian issues that are important to everybody. But the problem is that his supporters, a good many of them, don't really have a second choice. Now, can you force them to have a second choice at a convention? Possibly, that could be a positive thing. But I would like to say, too, that I think that for Barack Obama, the reason you guys like this on the Democratic side is that he doesn't have to defend his own record.
Oh, he's out there. As we saw in 5 states, he's out there. Right after the State of the Union, he went exactly to those states that your primaries are going to be held.
The State of the Union was a campaign speech, and it was just a retread of the former speeches that he's given. No, when people really, here's what we find: when people really focus on him and his record, and we talk about it, his numbers go down. But when he has this big, wide open field because the Republicans are out there running their own primary, and he's got this freedom to kind of, be a little cheerleader, and no one's paying really close attention to the details,
and
he does better.
So
we would like. I would like my candidates on my side to focus more on the president and his horrible record.
And a lot of folks think that the Democrats, they benefited by having their 2 top candidates really sharpen each other going into the final general election. All right, Sherry and David, thank you both.
Thank you.
We
Pleasure
appreciate
to be
it.
with you.
All right, it's an